You're listening to a download from the outdoorstation.co.uk. Number 408.
Hello and welcome back once again to the Outdoors Station. Oh, what was that list? Online, on iTunes, on TuneIn app, on the website, theoutdoorstation.co.uk, on Now TV, on Apple TV. I need to find a way of reducing that down and making it really snappy and trendy. Oh, what a busy week. Right, well, let's update you with a bit of information. The house purchase is ticking along nicely. The legal people are doing whatever the legal people do, and obviously you just sit here waiting for answers to questions. Frustratingly, the biggest one I'm waiting for at the moment is from BT and OpenReach, because I want to have a leased line going into the new studio when the studio gets built, so that I can guarantee my broadband and be able to do the things I wish to do in the future. Certainly a pipe of that size will give me many options, and I'm looking forward to, well, getting my teeth stuck into a little bit of construction work as soon as I know exactly what I can do and have the appropriate permissions from the people that give you these things, which is another area of confusion and frustration. But hey, these people that work in local authorities, it's not like it's a real job, is it, really? They don't survive on results, they just potter along at their own pace, and the rest of us have to just cope with it. Anyway, that little moan aside, I see that the listening figures are slowly increasing once again, which is great, and that's usually as a result of me releasing material on a more regular basis. Now, my intention, if I can do it, is to try and release something every Friday if I can. Something for the weekend, sir? Certainly. And so hopefully that will arise as circumstances allow, and obviously I get the material to do it with. Now, I'm also trying to do something similar with the videos as well. Videos releasing on the YouTube channel, associated with the backpacking light business at certain times, but certainly I'm trying to increase the variety of videos and give a little more variation. But of course, it all takes a little bit of time, and I've got to go out and do these things at the same time. Now, two of the videos I released this week. One was sort of an overview on the Montane Ultra Tour 55, which I think actually is a really seriously underestimated rucksack for people who are interested in lightweight gear and whose frame is svelte, slim, not broad and built for comfort like mine, but slim and sexy and built for speed. It's certainly something worth considering, and it's just that I've not really seen much people mention it at all, in fact, around the web, so I thought I'd do a quick video on that. So that may or may not be of interest to you. The other one is more a quick tip, really, something I've discovered and mentioned to a few people who've not thought about it, so I thought I'd do a quick video on that. And that's using an item from McNet, the people that make Seam Grip and Silnet, and the item's called FreeSole. Now, FreeSole was originally designed to repair sort of the rubber components on boots if your boots start to fall apart. But actually, they have a equally useful little feature which will help you if you use trail shoes. Most people, myself included, use trail shoes and find they don't quite last as long as you'd like them to. So it's a little tip to perhaps help you get a little bit more life out of your trail shoes. So have a look at that on YouTube. There's been plenty of comments coming on the videos and also on the website, but mainly the videos because YouTube is certainly easier for people that pick it up. And people have implied that the intro is perhaps a little bit long for YouTube videos and for the average YouTube viewer, which, looking around the net and seeking some advice, I see that's possibly the case. So I need to work on a new little animation for that and to make things a little bit slicker and a little bit quicker. So I'm looking forward to updating that and doing a few other little trick bits to make the whole presentation a little more slick, really. Comments and feedback is, of course, vital to the growth of the Outdoors Station, certainly the growth that I'm aiming to have over the next few months. And I do appreciate people taking the time on the Outdoor Station website to comment, certainly those who have joined the newsletter and the comments they make there, and particularly subscribing on the YouTube channel. Currently, I've got over 6,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, and I really would like to get this up to around 10,000 for when I launch my cunning plan. The cunning plan forged by the cunning fox that went to Cunning University, Blackadder. So if you haven't found time to join the newsletter or subscribe on YouTube, I would really appreciate it if you could do that when you can. And yeah, keep popping back. There are things happening which may be of great interest to you. As I've mentioned probably once or twice in the last few podcasts, on the newsletter on the website, there's also options for you to make suggestions as to future content. Places of interest, campsites of interest, particularly little quirky ones. UK cottage manufacturers, particularly of interest to me at the moment, and people of interest worth talking to. A few names who have joined this week include John Jessup, Bill Daniels, Chris Knight, Philip Winter, Kerry Larkin from Australia. How you doing, Kerry? Nice to hear from you again. And Steve Riley, along with a good list of suggestions. Now, just to prove that I am tackling them, George Griffin suggested Quinton Lake and his really interesting project, photographic project, I think it is, circumnavigating the UK. And I've spoken to Quinton. Everything looks good. We hope to be having a chat very soon. So that's a great one, George. Thanks for that. Many of you have suggested DD hammocks, and I've chatted to them, but unfortunately they're not going to be available until probably end of this year, beginning of next. Many of you suggested Alp Kit, and contact has been made with them, along with Wildcat Gear, Alex Roddy, and Stormin Norman with his great cone cooking system. You've got to take into account that some of these people are actually quite shy, even though they produce some great stuff. So if you are aware of their Twitter feed or on their Facebook feed, or you're friends with them or whatever, just give them a nudge and say, look, I won't bite. It'll be good fun, and hopefully they're going to get a greater audience as a result. Jane Jennifer from Australia wanted to hear from more women. Good idea. Of course, this podcast does chat with Rose, who's just done a section of the Pennine Way. And I've also confirmed forthcoming chats with ultra runners Nikki Spinks and Jasmine Paris, which should also keep Steve Atwood and Colin Woolford happy, because they also suggested the same names. In podcast number 403, you may remember Rose set off on the Pennine Way with Pip, our Spaniel, and all of her camping equipment. However, the weight of it all proved a little too much for her little 5'4" frame, resulting in an accident at the end of the first day and her returning home 48 hours after she started. Well, not that she's determined or anything, but in the first week of September this year, I dropped her off where I picked her up last time at Crowden, and she set off for a week slackpacking on the Pennine Way. Here's how she got on. Well, welcome back, Rose. You successfully achieved more than one day on the Pennine Way.
Yay!
I was hoping I wasn't going to get the same phone call again with injuries and disasters and things that befell you. So tell us where you started and where you finished, and you've just done 1 week section.
Well, as I'd already done the Edale to Crowden section, I decided that I didn't need to start again, especially because it's a pretty tough day. So my start point was Crowden, and I was going to finish at Horton in Ribblesdale, which is like the bottom southern section of the Pennine Way. Just under sort of 100 miles, I guess, from Edale.
Now, I did explain on a previous podcast that you were slackpacking this time, and just to abbreviate really what happened, when you set off the first time from Edale, you were carrying obviously all the equipment for yourself and the dog, but also all the camping equipment as well, and it just amounted up to too much weight, and that's what ultimately caused the accident that you had, the injury, and the dog also suffered an injury as well, which was something that you hadn't really anticipated, and with the harness system. So this time round, I've accused you of slackpacking, which is probably the first time you've actually done a bed and breakfast type walk.
It was. Having said that, I did camp one night, which I'll
yeah, we'll
tell
come
you
on to
about.
that. That's exciting.
Res.
That's exciting. So, yeah, we'll just go through the days and then we'll sort of try and break it down a bit.
Well, to be honest, it was much more difficult to find accommodation for the dog. Originally, I was hoping to camp, and most campsites take dogs, so it wasn't going to be an issue. But actually, once I got back, I think it was early June, obviously needed to sort itself out, and we're busy through the summer. So I sort of designated the first week in September for second attempt, and started doing research for where we could stay, which proved actually quite a problem. Most of the stops I managed to find accommodation. One at Ickenshore, when you come off the moor, it was almost impossible. There was nowhere, none of the B&Bs would take dogs, and the only other place was a campsite who used to do B&B but didn't anymore. And when I explained the situation, they said, well, we've got a tent you can borrow if that helps. So what we decided to do was chip down a quilt and a mat for me for the night, and then have it collected the following day after I'd departed.
And where was that? What was the name of the place?
Winter House Barn, B&B. It's a lovely old couple. They used to do B&B, but I think they're getting on a bit and just now do a bit of camping, and it's like £5 a night in a sort of back garden field. And
on that particular occasion, you didn't actually use the tent they offered you?
No, in fact, I got there. It was quite a long day. The Ickenshore Moor was actually the boggiest apparently it's been for many years, and it was pretty boggy day. So I got there. It was quite a long day, lots of reservoirs, and it had been quite warm. And when I got there, I was quite tired, and they sort of said, "Oh, you're welcome to the tent. It's here, and you can go and pitch it. Obviously down in the field, quite long grass, and it was quite damp, and the sort of rain was promised." And then, sort of as a throwaway mark, he said, "Well, you could just stay in the summer house if you like." And I sort of went, "Yeah, that'd be fine," because it had light and there was a power socket, so I could recharge my phone and stuff. So that's what I did. I actually stayed in the summer house, des res, along with boxes and spiders and people's
domestic
pieces,
pieces. So but let's talk a bit about the walk itself, though. Can you break down the week roughly in the distances and what sort of conditions and how you found it?
Yeah, one of the reasons I wanted to do the Pennine Way is I don't really know that part of the countryside at all. A lot of it was moorlands. Didn't realise how many reservoirs there were. So sort of coming out of the Derbyshire Dales and then into the sort of Yorkshire moors, there's this change in landscape as it goes from sort of gritstone to limestone. So some high moors, and then they gave way to limestone scenery. Just all sorts. I think one of the delights of it was too that the couple of days it was fairly low level sort of fields or river canal walks. Quite a lot of cattle, lots of stiles. So a real variety of scenery and landscape really.
And from a day-to-day point of view, can you remember what it was, any particular long sections or short sections? Because you were using the Cicerone book, weren't you, as the
the Paddy Dillon Pennine Way book, and I sort of had the same days as he advised, which actually worked quite well. Although there was a short day from Gargrave to Malham, which was only sort of 7 miles, which was good in a way because I was tired, so it was a half day. And the idea was that you then had time to go and explore Malham Cove and Janet's Foss and some of the other geological features there. But actually, which I would have done, but Pip was a bit sore-footed that day, so I actually decided that the half-day rest was probably the best option.
And how was Pip this time? Do you think the first trip that you did with her, even though it was so short, had given her a bit of a taste, and she understood the sort of styles and the range of challenges that you had to, because you were tethered all the time with the dog, weren't you?
Yeah, I used the cane-on cross system, which is like a strap that goes around your waist and then sort of slightly elasticated lead that went onto the rough wear harness, and actually that worked really well. This time the harness, I didn't put any of the panniers on. It was so brilliant because it's got a really little sort of handle on the back, so you can actually lift the dog up very easily. So on some of the styles which were tricky, or across crattle grids and coming back on the train down escalators, it was really easy then just to support the dog and lift her. But no, she, as soon as I've got my rucksack out, because we've taken her away weekends and things, she knows that there's a good walk coming. And she responded really well. She was super. Great company, lots of compliments. She was really well behaved. I still wouldn't trust her with sheep, sadly. But other than that, she really, proved herself to be a great companion.
And so you were carrying, apart from your normal sort of walking gear, I guess, and a sleeping gear, and wash kit and that sort of stuff. We weighed your rucksack before you went, and I think it was between 10 and 11k. But 2k, 3k of that was dog food, because you still had to carry the dog food, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the real extra weight. And also there was quite a lot of her equipment, which I suppose added bulk. If it had just been me and I was just literally slackpacking, I would have been skipping along. Yeah. But as it was with her stuff and the food, I was probably carrying what I would normally carry for myself if I was backpacking camping.
So, yes, what you lost in the tent, you gained back in the dog food
stuff.
Tins of dog food. And talking about the practicalities of taking a dog, because we were discussing it before you went about saying, OK, we'll call into a butcher's in the villages or whatever and see if you can pick up some scraps that'll just top up her raw food diet. You were saying that you actually didn't come across any butchers or very few facilities like that. Yeah,
a lot of the villages were very small, and of course when you often get there is later in the day. If they're small butchers, they're usually closed. A lot of the places like Horton in Ribblesdale didn't actually have a shop anyway. And of course if you wanted to leave early in the morning, which obviously most walkers do get up, and most mornings we were walking by 8, the shops aren't open. There were a couple of occasions like Hebden Bridge, which obviously is a bigger metropolis, that had spas or one-stops or those type of convenience stores where I could call in and buy sort of 500 grams of fresh mince, and then that could add to her half tin of dog food or dog food to just give her a variety and something fresh. Had you been camping rather than doing the bed and breakfast, so a lot of people will be obviously listening to this and be doing it the simpler way, if you like, do you reckon it would be a lot harder from the accommodation and the campsites and that sort of point of view? I think it would be much easier. Most campsites will take dogs. I was thinking more just purely from the camping. There was plenty of camping opportunities then. Yeah, most places there was camping available. It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be, and there were probably some places you could have wild camped. If you picked your spot. Right. Certainly one of the chaps I met up and walked probably a day and a half with, he was doing the through hike, and he hadn't booked anything, but he certainly mixed it up and stayed in youth hostels occasionally if camping was scarce, or it was time to wash kit and that sort of thing, dry tents. I was going to ask you about the other people you saw on the way, because this is now the first week of September you did this. What were the weather conditions? Were fairly, it's been a pleasant summer, hasn't it, really? So it's been a fairly mild September. And were there many other people doing it in different forms, whether they were doing it in sections or doing it the whole thing? Yeah, the weekend, there were a lot of weekend walkers doing sections of the Pennine Way. Once the weekend had passed, the weather we were really lucky with had all sorts from almost too hot. I actually walked in shorts for 2 days, which is amazing. But we also had some torrential rain and wind. As I say, there was only one person I met who was through hiking the whole lot. There was someone else who was doing about a day and a half, 2 days on the Pennine Way and then making a circuit round. And actually he was quite an interesting chap. He was an ex-teacher who'd retired, he was 65, and he said he'd taken a party of school children 40 years ago and walked the entire length of the Pennine Way with them.
find out how easy it is to subscribe to all our free programmes, visit our website at theoutdoorstation.co.uk or look us up on Facebook.
Wow. No health and safety there.
I said you couldn't do that, and he said no risk assessment today. I couldn't do that, but he said it was the most memorable thing. He said the children didn't actually have to carry too much. They had a support minibus, and they stayed mostly in youth hostels and things. He said, but he said even now, when he goes back to the home village where he taught at Christmas, if all the students come back to see parents and things, if they bump into him, they say, "Sir, that summer, that trip was we've never forgotten it."
Wow. And that's what you want young people to do in particular, isn't it, when it comes to the outdoors? Enjoy the experience and be rewarded and look forward to doing it again.
Yeah, definitely. And he was sort of saying how that had changed as well over time the Pennine Way. Obviously, they've paved a lot more. Black Hill is no more a bog, and parts of Kinder Scout. You're not up to your thighs in mire and peat hags. There is some flagstones, but that in itself is actually, they're quite hard to walk on constantly.
Well, I was going to, again, come on to that, the idea of shin splints. So if you're walking on those in dry conditions, and obviously if it's icy conditions, they must be deadly. Yeah,
they are quite slippy, and they can be quite slippy in rain as well, I found. And obviously for Pip, quite sore on her paws. I sort of encouraged her to walk off to the side where possible, where it wasn't in bog.
And what about the dog first aid? Because obviously you carry your own first aid kit and look after yourself. And we discussed this about the dog with the previous experience of the sores that she had from the harness. You carried a few items for her just in case?
Yeah, I had a chat to the vet before we went, and obviously gave her, had the dog quick examination, make sure she was fit to travel and so on. Under her suggestion, I took some dog electrolytes just in case we had a really hot spell to help rehydrate. She said you can use human stuff, but it's better for the dogs. So I took a couple of sachets of that. I took a empty syringe, which you can use to flush out wounds with fresh water. Obviously, that 8-hour window when infection sets in. So if you can flush out any cuts or abrasions with fresh water. And obviously a syringe can do that pretty effectively. I also took some Mush's Secrets, not enough as it turned out. That was the wax that you can put on the dog's paws, which worked really well. I just didn't take enough of it. The pot I took was too small. What else did I take? A general wound clean. And then for herself, because she has trouble with her ears, some liquid to put in her ears to keep them from...
Thornit, wasn't it? The Thornit?
No, it's the Chloroderm that we have from the vet for her ears.
But did you take some Thornit as well?
Yeah, I did take a little bit of powder, the Thornit powder. Yeah. So, yeah, it was enough. And obviously then I also bought 2 little feet socks for her just in case she needed them, which we didn't actually use in the end. But I thought, well, as a backup. Yeah.
Well, obviously, after last time, you want to make sure that you don't cut it short for something very simple. Now, the range of accommodation that you went through, how does that fare? I mean, what was your observation on that type of slackpacking in the places you stayed? They must have been quite diverse because they all charge quite different prices.
Very different prices. Some it was included, not a problem at all. Some it was £5 or 15.
This is for the dog?
For the dog. The worst was Hebden Bridge, actually. The accommodation I had in a guest house, which had been recommended, the lady unfortunately wrote to me and said she'd made a mistake with the dates and unfortunately would be away. So the last minute I had to find some other accommodation, which I did. I found a pub, and actually pubs were on the whole quite good because they were dog friendly, and if they had accommodation as well, it worked quite well because I could go down and eat in the evening with the dog. But this particular one, the price was probably more than I'd wanted to pay, and when I got there they sort of said, "Ooh, and £20 for the dog." I went, "Excuse me, £20 for the dog?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, how can you justify that?" And they said, "Oh, well, it's the extra mess." And I said, "Well, actually, you get more mess off my gaiters than you would off the dog." I just was appalled. I mean, I'm considerate anyway. I had a towel with her to rub her down. When she's in the room, I've got a little Pro-Light Blue up and a little fleece rug. As soon as I put that down, she knew that was her bed and stayed there. She was good as gold. So I thought £20 was taking them, really.
Yeah, taking that. And what pub was that? Can you remember the name?
The Crown. It was the Crown in Hebden Bridge.
And the rest of the accommodation across the week?
Yeah, mostly people were really good, and it was very acceptable. I mean, there was
people didn't mind you turning up muddy or whatever else?
No, the Mason's Arms at Gargrave was really good. They had I went in the room and there was a towel, a muddy towel turned up with a bowl to use and a bonio, so that was quite nice. So mostly people were really, helpful and not a problem.
And what about the actual food that you ate? Because you said you ate out every evening or where possible.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few times where it just wasn't possible, like when I was in the summer house and I think I had muesli for breakfast and muesli for dinner. Obviously we weren't taking any cooking equipment with us. I managed to scrounge some hot water because I took dehydrated rice and vegetables for Pip, so I was carrying that as well. And basically put that in a pour and store bag, put in the boiling water, wrapped it in my down jacket, which acted as a pot cosy, and then it was good to go.
But the actual quality of the food that you purchased in the meals?
For me, you mean?
Yeah.
I had a couple of smashing meals and then a couple of average okay meals, really.
Yeah.
Like, anywhere you're travelling in the UK.
So do you think, it's obviously the first week you've done on the Pennine Way, but do you think it's a reasonable standard for people who are looking for comfortable walking conditions and being well looked after? It's the accommodation that we've got in that part of the country is pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, there was a whole variety. Obviously, you could go more expensive, or I don't think you would have gone much cheaper. You probably use youth hostels and bunkhouses, which obviously I found didn't take dogs, which would have been a cheaper run down. As if you like. I suppose the average price was between, I think the cheapest was £5 for my summer house to up to about, I think the most expensive was at Hebden Bridge because of the dog, and that was about, 60, 70 quid.
So for you and the dog?
For me and the dog.
That's quite a lot of money,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
a lot of money.
Yeah.
That included breakfast, but it didn't include, anything else really.
And I suppose, what would the camping been in that sort of area? The average camping cost about, £9-10 for you and the dog?
Yeah, that seemed about right. And certainly one of the guys who was doing the through hike who stayed at the youth hostel, I think he paid about £10 a night for the youth hostels,
so
which
it's
wasn't
quite a
bad.
difference, isn't it, really, to your budget, really?
Yeah, huge. I mean, it's certainly, I'd love to have, by the end of the week I was hill fit and I would love to have carried on, but financially probably couldn't have afforded to. Have to save it up and do the next section another year, I think.
Okay, excellent. Well, as you can probably hear in the background, the wind has really picked up where we were doing this across some fields at the moment, giving the dog a walk. So I think what we'll do is we'll probably head back, and if we think of anything else, we'll just add it to the end. But I'm glad you had you did have a good time, didn't you? You haven't really said.
I really enjoyed it. It was
good.
brilliant.
Yeah,
it was actually brilliant, and Pip was great company, and I absolutely loved it. The walking was fantastic, and it's not an easy walk. It's still not an easy walk, and I used my compass a couple of times, once in mist and once because I assumed it was the right trail when it was clearly not, and went way off track. So although it is trail marked, it's not always really clearly trail marked, so you do have to keep an eye on the book. If you've got a guidebook, especially getting out of places like Hebden Bridge, I took a map and compass anyway, and then I had GPS on the phone. So.
Well, you got it was the Route Buddy system, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really good. As I say, the one time I did actually walk off that map. So just enjoying the countryside and not paying attention.
Right. But the Route Buddy, the combination of all three, the map, the compass, the book, and the Route Buddy.
You couldn't go far wrong, to be honest. But as I say, it's as always, once you're on the moors, it's much easier. You're out in the wilds. It's always getting out of suburbia, isn't it, or into trying to find your way, that it's like, really, is this path? You feel like you're going up someone's garden, or across the lawn, or through a farm, or wherever.
As you can hear, she was in good spirits this time, and both she and Pip the dog returned home safe and in one piece. My next podcast is with well-known wild camper Martin Rye, and we discuss all aspects of the pastime, his approach to it, his gear, and his personal rewards. Something not to be missed. I'm going to keep approaching people on my list, and if any of you have a way of contacting them on Twitter or Facebook and giving them a nudge, then please do so. If not, then do come back and sign up on our newsletter website and suggest some more people. Until next time, I will leave you with this quote from J.R. Tolkien. Not all those who wander are lost. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To hear or see more from our extensive free library, please visit theoutdoorstation.co.uk.